Hi guys, I'm Tammy. Welcome to my channel. And today I'm teaching you how to paint these large fluffy dahlias, and we'll be using several layers to achieve it. So let's get to it. I've got my number 8 round brush, has a really nice point to it. And as we're getting everything set up, I'm getting the yellow out of my brush. Just wanted to let you guys know I'm doing this with 100% cotton paper. But you don't have to use cotton. You can use whatever you want. So I want you guys to utilize what you have at home and not feel frustrated if you don't have what you feel are the quote-unquote right ingredients or something to be able to paint, because you guys can use what you have, what is in your budget, and not worry about using the same things that I'm using. So I've got these purples on my palette here. For making these dahlias, I want to start with a nice center, and the reference photo that I have has dahlias that have a lot of white on them and some purple, but we're just gonna kind of do our own little thing. And I want to make them a little bit bigger. Not really tiny flowers today, but we'll see how this goes. So we're gonna do our center, and we want to do these little lines that are emulating a roundness. So I'd say I'd like my center to be about this large. And I'm just going to do some lines. This is curving this way, and then we curve that way, our C-curve shapes, to show and to emulate this, the movement of roundness. Movement of roundness. I don't know. It makes sense in my head, but we want to emulate that this is not just a straight middle here. And then we want to start doing some of our petals. And it's going to be a little bit challenging because there's so many petals. So I'm just going to start kind of painting in some of the petal shapes that I'm seeing. And at the end of this, you might say, you know what, this kind of looks like a peony or a rose, or I don't know, but we're just going to go with it and see how it turns out. Okay, so I'm going to add some here at the top, and I have some different purples happening as well. I don't want to paint over my middle, and we'll definitely probably have to darken it up later. So I'm trying to paint around it and keep my leaves nice and, my petals nice and round at the top. So I've got these two different purples. This is more of a reddish purple, and then I have the bluish purple right here. And just kind of a mixture of both, and just adding in petals as you see fit. So this is a process. It's not like a fast watercolor painting necessarily. We do want to emulate what those petals look like. And I'm leaving a lot of white space so that we can do that. Otherwise, it's going to look like everything is just kind of blobbed together, and we don't want that. So I'm going to take off some of the water, squeegee on the side, and add in some of these larger petal shapes as they start to get a little bit bigger. And if you have different purples too, you can kind of emulate, the different petals a little bit easier, because your boundaries, your edges are different colors. All right. So how is yours coming together? I'm curious how you're feeling about painting a dahlia. Dahlias are hard. There's so many petals happening, just like with a peony. Even when you're painting a rose, there's so many petals, and there's a lot going on. And so you just kind of have to be patient and add things together in the way that makes sense. So if you have a reference photo, keep looking at your reference. I've got some larger petals that are just kind of, just pointing off to different directions. And it's not completely rounded, what I'm seeing here. All right, so I have my different petals, my different purples. I'm going to angle my brush this way so that I can get the shape that I want. Okay, so we've got some fluffiness, right? If you feel like you need a little bit more, you can always add in more petals. I think this is enough for this one. Maybe I want to turn this one into a bigger one here. So you can always do that. And maybe just a little bit more. I feel like you could always keep adding, So anyway, kind of leave it. Okay, I'm gonna leave it for now. adjusting my reference photo here. All right, so we have our first dahlia. Sorry about that. We have our first dahlia in place, and let's add in a couple more. And you can see the center, you can see that that is definitely a rounded part. Now, if you wanted to, you can also take some fresh, clean water and just kind of go around the edges of some of these just to allow them to bleed a little bit, give a little bit more fluffiness maybe, a little bit more of those softer edges for our watercolor. So not everything is such a hard edge here. And if you want to do that, you don't have to. I just thought it would be kind of fun just to see what happens if we do that. Okay, let's do another one here to the side. We're gonna do, let's do a middle that goes up this way. And that kind of curves upward, just like so, okay? Very rounded, quite lovely. And then we're going to start adding in some of our petal shapes once again. So if you have a brush that has a nice tip on it, you can do a lot of really nice detailed work. If you want to do detailed, I'm trying to do detailed / loose, you know, and just kind of see if I can kind of achieve that, those two things together. So I'm not sure exactly what position I'm taking today. I do like doing loose flowers, but at the same time, sometimes you just want to go a little bit tighter, and that's okay as well. And trying different things is always a good thing to see where your comfort level lies and all that stuff. All right. I've left a lot of white space for some of these, which can be pretty. It can be effective. Nice big petal right here. Nice and round. Okay, a little bit darker purple maybe over here. And I'm just kind of adding in, I'm sort of following, you know, my reference. And then at the same time, I'm gonna do this. I'm just doing a little bit of intuitive work as well, which can be fun. And also you can learn a lot that way. Okay, so cleaning off my brush, dabbing it, and if you want to, you know, adding a little bit of water to the edges or not, you don't have to. You can add a little fluffiness to your flower in that way. All right, and let's do a third one. So nice little center. Over yonder. I don't know why I did that. I don't know. It felt right. Okay, another little center happening, little ball with some lines, and we'll go over these two with more paint so we can definitely, you know, darken some things up and add a little bit more pizzazz. So a little bit of a petal there. I just off the bat wanted to start adding some just where I felt was a good idea. So guys, if you're liking this video right now, please give it a like so that other people can find it and know that you're having a good time. And also remember to subscribe to my channel so that you can be notified when I have new videos in the future. I think we need some variation in our purples over here. So I now have done this complete circle here with these guys. We need some of this darker one too. And at some point, sometimes you start to feel pretty confident, and then you kind of start adding in things that sometimes you didn't want to, or maybe when you're just doing your intuitive marks, you end up making something more beautiful because you're just kind of following your gut with some of these things. So, you know, don't be afraid to try new things and to see what works for you. I want to put a few up here too, because you never know what you're going to like. And sometimes your style is going to be completely different than what you expected when you try new things. All right, that water again on the little edges of the petals. Just adding a little bit in there. Okay, so for now, we're going to keep them as is. And we're going to add in our greenery just so that we can start to see how these are flowers. You know, we got to get those stems in there. And I'm going to start adding in a little bit of red. I'm going to try to clean my brush as much as possible. And I'm gonna add in some red to darken this down. It's a little too much. Let's add a little more green in there. I just feel like going with a darker, maybe kind of more natural green color. You know, there's a lot of natural ones out there. But anyway, something to think about. Okay, so we're gonna add in our stem. We're looking for where the middle is, and we're just gonna come down from there and add in our stem. I'm gonna dab my brush. That's pretty liquidy. And then we are going to come down from there. This is kind of, well, whether it's a bouquet or these flowers are planted, either way, they're all just gonna kind of come together with our stems. And this one here, it looks like it's gonna be connected this way. I'm actually going to connect it here, pretending it's arcing, and get it next to its little buddy over here. Okay, all right, and then over here, I think this one is coming at an angle like this. All right, so we have those stems. I do want to add in maybe a little bit, maybe there's another stem situation happening over here. Let's just kind of follow through with it. And maybe there's a bud on this side that we can add in a moment. I do want to add in some leaves. So I'm gonna do a little stem, and then we are going to, they have these leaves that are just a little bit wonky, so maybe a little like kind of pokey. A little pokey, that would be what I would say. So we're just moving the brush like that to get some jagged edges and then filling it in with our paint. If you leave some white space, no harm done. That looks good. All right, so let's do a few more of those. So we might have, you know, some leaves coming off of this, and just, for example, we might go down straight like that because maybe this leaf is actually in half right now. And so we're just gonna see one half of it. And so this would be a straight part. That's actually the middle part where the vein is going down the leaf. And then this other part there. And then let's do another one coming off over here. So just again, we're just making those little jagged edges and then filling it in with the rest of the watercolor on our brush. Okay. All right, guys, I hope you're enjoying this. I hope you're learning some new things and having a great time. And, you know, thank you for being here. I love, you know, learning new things with you and then being able to teach you some of these skills that I'm learning, that I'm picking up. You know, I'm always learning myself, so it's not like I ever stop. And I love when I learn something new to be able to come on here and share with you guys so that we can do those things together. So I'm glad that you were able to paint with me today. I want to, let's do like a bud. So the bud is going to be very interesting. It's going to have a lot of our lovely purple color. Let's just mix together the two purples. And that's going to be in the center of the bud, kind of like this. And then once that's dry, we're going to make the bud wider with a very light, almost light green color. And then we're going to do some leaves as well on there. So let's just kind of leave it like that. I actually think I'll do more than one. So I'm going to have one that's stemming off like this as well. So I'll do my purple now. So that is ready. And then we'll fill in the rest of it. It's a very round bud, really pretty. So I do want to continue adding in a little bit more green. So I'm taking my red, making it a little bit darker. And what else do I want to add in? I've got my buds, and I think I might want to, add some over here. Just a little bit of our greenery just popping in. A little bit more red. There's the red. Okay. A little bit more green popping in. And I think I'm going to do 2 leaves. So this one's going to be straight. and it's gonna have that edge over there, but you're not gonna really see it because it's within the florals. And this is where we're painting the negative space around the flower to have the leaf edges show up. Okay, so there's one there. I'd like to do another one kind of, you know, like this. I'm just edging it out, making it really thin and pointed at the end, and then filling that space in. Now, if you didn't want to draw in the leaf, but you wanted to just kind of do like two halves, where you just sort of paint it and you're pushing down the belly so that you're getting half of the leaf, you know, colored in, you can do it that way as well. That might be easier, I don't know, might be more fun. And then I'm going to rinse my brush and then see if we can just do another one. Let me see if I can show you what I mean. So I don't want to angle my paper because it is exactly how I want it for this painting. So it's in the middle, but I'm just gonna try just to kind of, oops, I didn't do it, see? But I just to show you how you could do it, and then maybe coming up like this. And so that's another way to do it. This one's a lot lighter. I kind of like that. I like having a little variation in that is, I think it's interesting. So I'm looking at my painting. I'm trying to figure out what's gonna make it look balanced and even before we even do the rest of our details for our other parts of our painting and for our flowers. So I'm looking at it and I think, what do I else? Oh, I think I want to do another leaf right here, but it's not even going to be attached. It's just hanging out. And I'm just actually, you know, using the brush and just grabbing, you know, basically grabbing onto the paper and making some marks. Okay, maybe it will hold on. I don't know. You just have to be creative with this whole process and figure out what's going to work for you. Maybe a little bit more right here. And just a little bit of green. So your leaves don't always have to look all the same, and they don't have to be done the same way too. Just have a lot of fun with it, and that's the biggest thing I ask that you do. So let's mix up some more of that purple paint. So bright, so intense, I love it. And then more of this more reddish purple. Okay, so we have that if we want to do some details on our florals right now. And sometimes I look at it and I think, oh my goodness, I don't want to mess it up, you know? I don't want to mess it up. But don't think in that way. Don't be like me with that. Think, how can I improve? How can I enhance this? So I'm just now I'm filling in some of that white space. I'm actually grabbing the paint for this right out of that well because I want really thick, beautiful color. If it's too runny still because you have water in there, a lot of water, you can dab your brush. Let's do the same thing over here. If you want to work slowly or quickly, it's up to you. I'm trying to slow down. I know I tend to go fast because, guys, I start to have so much fun and I just start to paint quickly, but I know that not everyone is painting at the same pace, and it's also impossible when you're painting something new because you have to look up at the screen to see where I'm at, and then you have to go to your paper and emulate what I'm doing, and that's just a long process. So I try to remember that. Okay, so we have our centers in there. I think I want to round this to a point just a little bit more here. Okay, now I'm going to clean my brush, and I want to add in some pretty details. I don't think I'm going to do more than just kind of put in some blobs of color. I don't know. As I'm saying that, I'm like, well, we'll see. I might do more than that. But I have some pretty watery color here on my palette. I don't think this is the kind of painting where I want to like, you know, etch in some details. I think I just want to more start to put in some blobs of paint here. And so we're going to get some shadow marks, but I'm not being, you know, I'm not going for this look of, you know, realistic, right? I'm just trying to add some beautiful color and some variations of purple, you know, on top of the original color there, just to make it nice and pretty. I am chatting a lot. I am blabbing, I know. So I don't know if you guys have ever painted dahlias before. Let me know in comments. You know, what is a favorite way to do that? There's so many ways to paint so many flowers, and it's really based on, a lot of the time, the style of the artist and how they learned or how they feel comfortable. For me with this, I really want to just keep it loose and fun. All right, so there's our first one over there. And things are gonna dry lighter, of course. And if you have too much white space in some areas, you know, feel free to fill that in. But I like the white space so I can really see. I can see, you know, the color. Oh, sorry. I can see the different individual petals. And I'm not having to worry about like shading things and edges so that, you know where one petal begins and one ends and stuff. This is, for me, one of my favorite ways, by just adding, leaving that white space. Like when you're painting a rose, if you're painting it that traditional way, you're going to leave a lot of white space, and that's going to help people know where, one petal stops and one starts and all that stuff. Anyway, and then there's people that will fill in all the white space, like for a dahlia, and then they will, add big layers, medium layers, and then darker layers over the top, to differentiate between the edges and the spaces. So, and that's a great way to do it as well. So we'll see how this one turns out. And if you again have left too much white space, feel free to change things around. I'm actually going to add another detail to the centers. I've decided I'm going to probably take maybe a very dark burgundy color. I was thinking black. I don't think I'm going to do black. I think I'll do like maybe a burgundy. And I'm going to just enhance the centers to make them stand out even more. Okay. I did say I was going to try to work slower, and here I am working fast. I want you guys to remember, though, that as we're doing this, we're being intuitive. We're just kind of putting down the marks wherever our hand, is like, hey, this seems like a good place. We don't want our brains to overthink it too much, or we're just going to be here all day trying to decide and plan where we want to put all the things, okay? And that's not something that we want to do. So that's why I personally, and I've said it before, and you've probably heard it before, that's why I tend to paint pretty fast. But that by no means you guys have to do that. Okay, so a burgundy color. I'm going to take this beautiful purple. I'm going to take black, and we're going to mix them together, and we're going to see what happens. Really dark, really thick, very little water. So that is a beautiful, gorgeous color. One more black. And I have a nail polish that color, and I love it so much. All right, you can see a lot of this color is starting to really get dry and just lighten up a little bit. I'm loving it. All right. So see how I'm going really slow, and I'm starting at the top and I'm curving around, and I'm just, just trying to keep the curvature of that middle part. Would a dahlia have a black center? I don't know, not necessarily. Remember, guys, we're emulating. Guys, we're curving, starting at the top, curving down towards that bottom point, the end point, where everything is meeting together. And I just wanted to make them a little extra fancy, all right? A little extra fancy, never hurt nobody, right? Oh my goodness. Yeah, so these dahlias have had several layers. The leaves have not had more layers, but I'm kind of like feeling that one layer look today, but you know what? I might change it in a second. What I do want to work on are these buds. So I'm trying to clean my brush as much as possible. And then remember I said it was like a really, really light kind of green around the bud, or around the purple on the bud, to create that circle. So I'm going to see if I can do that tonight. So let's just paint around it And if some of the purple starts to bleed, that's actually really true to how the buds look. And if you just start to scrub a little bit, you'll get some of that bleeding happening quite naturally. All right, let's try another one. So just a little bit of that kind of greenish, almost looks a little gray on my palette color. Adding in a circle once again. And just connecting it, allowing that paint to spread, trying to make sure it's a circle. It's okay if they're kind of big, they're a little bit big. And just, you know, we'll leave it around that. I do want to add in a little bit of a leaf here too. A little bit of water there. So I feel like I need one here. At least one. Filling that in. Because we had a lot of leaves on the left side. And I want to balance it out. Okay, just painting around that space right there. And you know what? Adding in one more. Probably one. That's what I think at this time. A little bit lighter, because I didn't dip into my paint again. It's a little bit lighter there of a value. And there you go. Okay, so our painting is basically done. I do have to add a little bit of splatter, because that's what I love. So I'm going to use this lovely dark purpley color. And we're just going to tap. Well, that was a little bit too much there. Tap our brush, tap our brush, tap our brush, and a little bit more. And there you go, guys. Thanks for painting with me today. I will see you next time.